All right, so Marguerite, you want to kick off anything? So does anybody else have in addition to Holly's idea about a Northern Lights walk, which is great? Anybody have any?
Wait, is that instead of? That's
Nope.
not, okay.
Well, I
So we're
don't
still
wanna-
doing a full moon walk.
No, we don't have to do a full moon walk.
I want to do it.
It was just an idea
And this would be for July before our next meeting.
before the next
Our
meeting.
next
Yep.
meeting, you can do
Yep.
this.
Because every month we have to do something. Right? Right. Okay.
Preferably legal.
Preferably, not mandatorily. Yes. Marguerite,
Yeah,
members minute?
I spent a lot of time up at Ellis Pond because that's where I walk the dog. But I know that that's a very short trail and very easy for people who have accessibility problems. And I have had accessibility problems this year. So it's oftentimes people will say, gee, this would be a really nice place to have a place to sit. And I agree with them completely. But I don't know what we have to do to make that kind of thing happen. But I know there's a lot of people who would appreciate it. Something very simple.
I know
Flat
there are a couple
stone.
of benches looking for a home.
Excuse me, is it your turn yet? Chill.
So that's
Yes.
about it. I really appreciate the work that the DPW has put into maintaining that trail and keeping it flat and even and so forth. But it would really be nice to have a place to sit there.
Noted. Good. If Holly were here, I'd make sure she heard that, but,
Only the Conservation Commission liked benches.
yeah.
Which hat are you wearing is what it comes down to, right?
So just so everybody knows, we do have a $4,000 budget every year, an operating budget. And we spent it all this year. Every penny of it.
$4,027.
That's right.
Every spending.
We even had to borrow from the Conservation Commission account to fund expenses that were spent. So anyway, but all that went to benches, maps, expenses for trail clearing and such, gasoline and weed whacker wood and stuff like that. So that's why we have the money. Some years we do, the last hopefully, at least the last 3 years, we've tried to like not spend it because we have to, but basically that is. But we want to spend it to make an impact. And last year, I think we bought three benches and a table out of a table, maybe something like that. So, a bench is $1,000, a table is $3,500 maybe. Sure, my math is off,
The
but
bench is more expensive than the table?
Yeah.
did I say that the other way around? So the bench is 1,000. Is that what I said?
That's what you said. And then you said the table was 500.
No, the table's about 3,500.
Oh,
Maybe
So a table's more expensive than a bench.
the table is more expensive than the bench. But the table, in the case of this table, most of it was donated by the Women's Community Committee.
Yeah.
Where are they?
So the table,
That's what.
so one of the benches is one of the phantom ones at Shattuck Park, and that will be returned to Shattuck Park, just in a different location. And the table is in assembly, pending assembly in the DPW warehouse.
But it will go next to the parking lot on Mylon Street near the community gardens
Okay.
and
Great.
orchard.
This is good.
And
There
it's handicap, that one's handicap accessible with a
That's good.
ADA overhang.
The map that we have of Shattuck Park shows the location of two benches. So if that's in a different place now, we may want to revise the map.
Does it? Did we update that with them? I believe you, but
that's, I've kind of wondered why we marked benches.
Well, for longer trails. it would be-
well, theoretically, once they're installed, they're
They're there.
permanent,
Yeah.
theoretically. So those two benches at the Shattuck, which used to be in the spot marked on the map, those were moved to in front of the on Central Street in front of the theater temporarily.
Oh.
But the Board of Selectmen voted, last month to bring him back to Shattuck, but to put him in two different spots, separate from each other, but
Yeah, yeah.
both-
Winter, and then they're gonna come back
No,
in the summer?
nope.
Okay,
Politics.
so I don't need you. to
So-
use that
so-
from the maps.
So what I should have done at the bottom of the minutes I was taking that time, where it says Greeley must do the following,
Uh-huh.
I skipped a step, and it was my fault. I didn't
So we leave the map as is.
I didn't get Board of Selectmen approval to put them where we put them. So the board decided to move.
So we
Anyway,
now have
sorry,
to put them
I-
back, but not in the same places they were.
the DPW will install them at a agreed upon
So
spot.
I need to just move them around. This iteration.
Move them around where?
We'll find out.
Where they are.
Anyway, so this
Anyway.
is Margaret's minute, so thank you. We
Throw the whole thing
we
off.
hijacked your minutes. Sorry.
Thank you.
Chris?
I guess for mine, I'd say, last week, Alex and I went out to Meadow Street for the first time to hike the trail there. And as part of that adventure, we had to branch off of the blue right on the yellow, I think it is, pretty quickly because of all the rain. And as we made our way around, where the green split off, we continued following the blue until the, I guess the airport ditch, which we had pondered crossing, studied it for a while, thinking about it, and ultimately backtracked and found the green trail back out. But I guess my takeaway from it is one of the joys of exploring the new trails in town and to us was coming off of that and looking on the GPS and realizing where we missed, and then shared photos and information with Joe, and then we found out from the feedback from Joe that it was a very good idea. We didn't try to cross it because when the water is up, apparently it's neck deep.
Yeah.
So slippery too. Yeah.
What's the name of that location on the shelter trail?
On the shelter trail. Oh, Greeley Falls.
Greeley Falls.
Yes.
Greeley Falls?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's great. You're out.
Someone fell.
It was fun exploring, but it was also nice having the knowledge base around us here to bounce ideas off and think, okay, if we go back and decided we wanted to try to explore further, but that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
For the time being.
So Rob has our draft map, the tentative, how do we label it?
I said it temporary,
Temporary.
preliminary. would be a
Yep.
better word.
So that's gone through at least 3 iterations, I think, since that was marked as, we needed that like version 1, 2, and 3, but,
So
that's the Meadow Street. It doesn't have it, the map doesn't have anything even contemplated going up to the airport, because officially we haven't got approval yet.
Yeah.
It's still in the works, to answer Vic's question that he's about to ask.
you got it.
But, bless you.
And it was quite clearly cut out. where Green's
Yeah.
gonna go. We just kept following.
No, that's right.
So this was to
We
the
looked at
left
it
of Green?
first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it depends which way you go.
Yeah.
Green
Yeah.
out to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did the
Yeah.
same
Yeah,
thing,
we
but
didn't-
my first time there, I said, well, Green's either that one or that one, I'll go to the left. And then it was a dead end as far as I was concerned.
We were doing, we're like, this is why we definitely need a grading system, because we're like bushwhacking through and all that.
Did you have a
It's
tree to
like-
go over too?
Oh,
There was,
Yeah.
there was
There-
one little like
trees.
very quick steep downhill.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, yeah, and that one doesn't fill up with water almost
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
It looks like it'd be a river going through there, but.
But that's the kind of thing, not to steal your minute, but I will, but that's the kind of thing, even whether it's
Almost to the airport now.
whether it's the pine tree forest or anywhere you go, it's like, there's always these little, like deer trails that you can follow. Yeah. So, how did you, was it wet?
Oh, yeah. It was,
Just blue.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, there wasn't water out on the trail, but.
That might be.
Stay in the call. Yep.
Our shoes were already soaked from just everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just from the rain, so.
Yep.
That's why we thought, oh, our shoes are already wet, let's just walk across. And then
Yep.
they'll probably peel around to the left and head back to the car.
One of the neat things about the survey of the bridges and everything is that we measured the depth of the ditches and the depth of the water there, and he's gonna link it to, what is it, there's a place in Canton down the river or something where they have a gauge and we'll be able to say, relative to this gauge, this is what we expect the site to be. So we'll have to figure that out, how we communicate that.
That was what you ran into as far as the lack of, I won't say the lack of signage because it is flagged, but the signage will certainly has to be, but will be improved. But that's one of the things that the Boy Scout, he specifically said, this is what I think. And I thought it was great that a 16-year-old could think of this, but like he definitely thinks that there should be better signage on Meadow Street. I think he lives somewhere in the
Does he need
neighborhood.
to be part of our subcommittee?
Not yet. Good, thank you. Alice?
I mean, I guess we had the shared experience, so I just have more to share on that. I thought, like, if it were to become more popular and more people go to park there, if there's any way to indicate to them how they should park, so that most people can take that space that's like right in front of the gravel rather than, I always feel bad parking. I don't know. Maybe it's like a city thing. I always feel bad parking in front of other people's houses.
Yeah.
Even when it's not in winter and they don't have, chairs out there.
The town does own that vacant land.
What's
That little vacant lot.
And
just
the
to the
town
right.
does own that. If it gets popular enough, they maybe put gravel on it.
Yeah, in other words, you know that when you pull up to the Meadow Street. there's the
Yeah,
I
parking
do
area
think that,
that's in.
while it's unclear to me how much of Meadow Street is owned by the Concom, I do
Right.
think that lot specifically is. So you would have to think carefully about graveling it. The Concom would have to think carefully about gravel.
But to your point though, it's even if we, like I'm always using the QR code. QR code leads to all the maps, the full map page. But if we can get really sexy and get to the point of having a QR code for each location, then that would be perfect. They'd have a configuration for parking. Oh, by the way, don't block the emergency gate, right? Because that's the only way in and out of that property. So
Yeah, the pipe gates, not blocking, it's kind of intuitive, but most cars I've ever seen down there is 4. And that's usually because there's 3 other people
Yeah.
who drove there, who were meeting me. But,
Yeah.
That's why
most of the people in there are
If it gets
walking into
popular.
the neighborhood.
when the town buys Kofsky Farm, we'll find parking in a different area. So good. That's great. Thanks for exploring. Pick a new spot
And
every.
it was kind of runnable, you guys thought, too, which.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
It was, I mean,
Huge.
except for yellow, this when we went on here that's the Jumanji section.
A lot of routes.
Hey, I cut that myself.
Yes, you can't use it.
Oh, I know it.
Alex and Chris are our trail
Oh,
runners.
you found it for us. for sure.
Brian?
Well, I got to share a couple things tonight, showing you the photos of where we've been around, but if I could use my member minute tonight to ask a status question. Do we know that the property, here, we had talked about, that down from where the Forbes mansion was, and we've been back in there and everything. At one point, we talked about a right of way, there was even a bridge back there or something that, do we have any? I was reminded of it this week because I read in the paper about how the selectmen have what used to be public roads, they gave.
That's not true. That was
That was
not correct.
Okay.
If I can explain,
Sure.
those roads have always been private, ever since that subdivision was, Campanelli had it in like 2013, 2014 as the developer. And what they were is public ways. which meant that even though they were privately owned, the public could travel on them. So Upland Road is still privately owned and privately maintained. The town doesn't maintain it, but it's a public way because, sorry, not Upland Road Circle, because the apartment complex is up there at the top of it. Whereas all of the roads inside of the Moderna campus, like the former Tech Drive, for instance, and the former Planting Fields Brook Drive or Ave or whatever it was, those have all been turned into essentially driveways. But they were never public roads. They were private roads that now
Were they
have been,
public ways at one point?
they were public ways.
Now, the selectmen can do that without, you don't have to go to town meeting, just have the authority to say convert public way to a private way.
The selectmen, so
Yeah, the paper sound made it sound like the selectmen said.
no, the selectmen didn't do anything. The planning board approved a subdivision change where Moderna combined all the lots that were on there into one lot and like changed the name of the road and the addresses. But it didn't change who owns the roads. So currently Alexandria owns the roads, which is the landlord for Moderna. And that's who owned them before.
Does Moderna own the Forbes mansion? Did they buy
Yeah.
that property? Okay.
Alexandria,
So
their
that's-
landlord
Well,
does.
that's why I was asking for an update, because I do remember when we still owned it, the town still owned the mansion before it was sold. There was talk about us having access to that place along, is it Washington Street or is it? It changed up by that. There was that nice area there where I think when Polaroid was there, they had trails.
That was a fitness trail.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, that fitness trail would be a nice addition to trails if we got permission to use it, but we don't own it anymore. It's sold with the Fort expansion.
But they can't build on that, correct? On the front side.
So,
of Upland Road.
so do we know, is there somebody that we approach or?
Yeah, there's a wetland.
So two things. One, if I can, so when Moderna bought the property, they bought the whole thing right down to the street. So one of the things, it's not on Joe's list because it's not on the other side of Route 1, but one of the things on the easement wish list is if you come up, you do have it. I knew you. If you come up Everett Street from like Rojo's and go underneath the train tracks where the intersection of Upland and Washington are, and take a left onto Washington, then you're heading towards Moderna.
Right.
So what, in a perfect world, what we would like is like for Moderna to grant access so that we can, if you look at if you're looking at the property, there's a stone wall that runs almost the full length of Washington Street.
Upland.
Upland, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Screwing that up.
never
But
got time.
Yep.
I lost
so
it.
that, so really all we would like to ask for is that stretch on one side of that stone wall or the other. And that's perfect. It doesn't go, it's not invasive, if you will. It doesn't go into the property. It just parallels the street. But that is the area, part of the area where the fitness trail was. We found some of the old signage.
Yeah.
Like stretch
There'll be enough
stations
then
and such.
even with this new thing so that Moderna can have security on their ways now. There's still a place where public could park if we ended up getting access there.
There would be no parking.
Nothing
It's a-
on the road or something.
It's similar to the presentation we made to the airport, that it wouldn't be, it's not a destination. It's a part of the highway, if you will.
Passing through.
We're just
So
passing.
people in the neighborhood could walk back and forth.
Well, people work from Moderna.
Or,
Yeah. And that's the same thing we pitched to Home Market on the Pine Tree Forest is, we want to use it on this day, but if we can develop it, then everybody in the industrial park can use it lunch hour, after work, whatever, instead of work. But yeah. But then there's the other trail that I think both of you did, but you walked it with somebody from Moderna's facilities group.
Actually, I walked it with Phil Mackey, which
Okay.
is their landlord's attorney,
No,
Good.
Junior,
Phil Mackey Jr.
yeah.
So you walked, I don't know if that's Upland Street. So you come up,
It's, yes, the opposite side of like Upland Road.
Along the
Circle.
brook, along Planting Field.
a long time.
Yes.
ago. Yeah, so
Yep.
Moderna and Alexandria during town meeting a year and some odd months ago now,
Yep.
when we changed the zoning for them, said that they wanted to give a conservation restriction for that parcel, which is essentially undevelopable, because of the stream, to the town, which is what spurred this idea that there could be a trail there.
Perfect. So that's the connector up to the old camp.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it,
that's flagged.
Since
and
you
if,
more than I wondered.
and if we didn't get the stretch that parallels the street, Washington, upland, sorry.
Oh.
If we didn't get that stone wall passage, we'd rather have the part that goes up to the old
Hmm.
ham. Because it
Like
fits.
both, like.
We'd like both, yeah, exactly.
And there is a sidewalk. So,
Former selectman said
not
to
a
me
trail.
one time, he said, we
Sidewalks
don't
on
need
trails.
trails, we have sidewalks.
Yes.
So, but anyway, he's not here anymore.
It's those tree lined sidewalks that have the trees right through the
Yeah.
sidewalk. of the road.
So, but that's your Moderna
That was my-
question,
yeah,
perfect.
that was my-
Good.
That was my.
Rob?
I took a walk on Meadows 2 weeks ago. Certainly needs better markings. And when I started out on the green trail, I went on a trail right along there. There were some sewers. And a dead ended as far as I was concerned. But I think it should be on the map, even if it's not part of Meadows, it should just be marked dead end or private or whatever it is. But, you know, when I get there, I see trail, I said, well, furthest one's to the left, I guess that's it. So, I mean, that's,
Yeah, is that what this is here? Oh, this one?
I just drew that line, yeah.
Are they gonna connect to the airport on that one?
The one that goes down by U Drive and,
You know, where they stopped? Right where that last Hunters thing was. And I heard they were coming from the airport to try to do the sewer system there. Is that correct?
the sewer system at the airport work is done.
So it doesn't connect to the Red Trail? you call it?
The
One
sewer
they worked
system
on.
that they worked on when, like, if you go into Meadow Street and take that immediate left,
Yes.
that's where they went. So it goes to the airport on the side of the airport that's closest to access road, like behind the airport business park.
So it does connect now?
It,
I think it's
It
two dead
always-
ends coming in two directions.
it always did connect and the sewer line connects,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
not,
it's
It's-
not easily passable.
Could it be passable?
There's like 300 feet that's very thick that the people who did the sewer thing didn't go through. So
Could we have permission, try to get permission to connect it?
that's a question for the airport. I
Right,
think.
airport property.
I think you could, it's maintaining the sewer right of way. So yes, but it's what a lot of it is like the sewer pipe is exposed and you're walking on it in like a thing. Is that
Yeah.
right?
It's like,
You know?
it's like a raised farm
Yes.
and there's water on both sides here. That was,
It's a
it was
good winter,
quested.
good winter project.
Yeah, I went through in the winter, but when you get to the end where you, where it kind of dead ends coming in from Meadow Street.
Yeah.
It kind of turns almost 90 degrees towards U Street, I think it is.
Yeah.
But they don't really connect, like Holly said, there's so certain amount where it's just pretty overgrown and it's still, but coming in from U Street, it ends up in some guy's backyard. And, you know, they actually went through his driveway when it took work. To let the town go through his driveway, so.
Oh, that was nice.
So it's,
it wasn't free.
so it's not, a-
I guess my only comment is, it should be marked on the map and then said,
Yeah.
yeah, don't, private property, or whatever it happens to be.
yeah, no, I agree.
Should we pursue it,
What
Holly, do you think, for the conservation commission? Try to cut through there along the sewer line.
I
300
think the
feet.
best way to pursue it is to help Mark Ryan maintain the sewer line right of way.
let's say,
Yeah, one thing at a time.
You need to, right. Somebody has told me, at the bottom of Manhattan Street where, what's the name of the business right at the Rotary? Coming down Manhattan Street on the left-hand side,
yeah,
there's two.
Oh, there's trails in there too.
Well, somebody said,
Really?
why don't we buy that piece of property that's right next to that? It's like a 5 acre.
Yeah.
Like open space, but it's private. But you really, like, it has no connection to anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no, you'd love to buy every single piece of open space on the planet. But if there's no value, if everything has a value, but it's not
It's not
connected,
worth the
it's
pursuit.
not worthy.
One of the, where the telco used to. be.
Telco.
Yes.
Telco's what I
Yeah,
was
it's
thinking.
between what, Range Rover and Telco. or-
Yeah, something like that.
I don't want anybody crossing Manhattan Street without a crosswalk. It's
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
Anyway,
That doesn't connect.
I'm sorry to bring that up, but that's
It used to be a
similar
ball
to the
field
point
back
about
there.
you driving that.
Did he park?
Yeah, great. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. And you found Meadow Street okay and parking okay and
My two complaints, a lot of poison ivy and it was overgrown.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, fully marked.
that's
Not
great.
fully marked, but
Well, realize
Could-
that's,
could
that's
be
almost under, except for the.
yeah,
that's-
that's,
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we.
right.
Chris?
Two quick things. Went to California, saw a whole bunch of regular birds that we don't have here. It's amazing. Stellar's jay. What a great bird.
Well,
Bigger thing, every Thursday for the rest of the summer at the Trailside Museum, 4 to 7 p.m. DCR summer nights. There's ice cream, there's art projects, there's always going to be an animal encounter. If you got nothing better to do on a Thursday night from 4 to 7, come visit at the Trailside Museum. It's going to be a great summer.
it's kind of Trillium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we have an outing at the trails?
Is it family? It's family friendly.
Family
Obviously.
friendly, you can
Good.
come, it's open to everybody.
Okay.
And it's free,
And we happen to know somebody who's associated with that.
and I'll make it freer.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
You pay us.
I might be able to give you the, I shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Might be able to give you the, but.
Okay, good. Thanks. Greg?
Went to Ellis Pond. Patty and I walked around there. It's in pretty fair shape. The goose dumpings are quite evident there. So have to navigate around that. Best thing seen there was a black water snake. Have to cross the path and stop for a picture and then
Is that
steal
about
it
this
on.
big around?
Good.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because what did we see on our way back? We like.
I think that's what it was.
It's a black water. I was trying to look it up when I got home.
Somewhere around that,
Yeah, it was long. He was curled up right next to the trail and we looking at us. And like,
Saw the pavilion, went to the lower pond, for Alaviso.
Yep.
Right. So there's the pavilion there and, not much else there. The butterfly garden was a little overgrown. But otherwise, it's being mowed, it's being, the brush on the edges is being cut, so it's in pretty darn good shape.
and you're talking about the Walpole Street side.
Huh?
You're talking about the Walpole Street side across from the Ellis.
Well, yeah, the south side, yeah. That's
Yeah, where the dam
Alviso's
is.
part.
Yeah.
It's not easy to see the pond from
This is
that
true.
part. You got basically one portal, almost literally a green portal, to look at it, but you do see it.
And there's a bench there.
There is a bench.
There's a few benches.
So you can
There's
just
at least
on the
run
other
down
side.
there and wrap.
Interestingly, we do
There's a-
own another access to that lower pond, on the other side of Applied Plastics, where you could go out onto the dam of that.
With the channel stop.
But we need better markings for it, better wayfinding.
When you say access to the lower pond, do you mean the one that's down in the industrial area?
The old
Butterfly,
soap mill
yeah.
pond, right behind that plastics building. As
Yeah.
a kid growing up, it was called the soap mill pond,
Okay.
off a big wide parking lot.
Yep.
where the dam is.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mark's
it's got a
one.
stripe. Yeah, this one has stripes.
Well, but it's mostly black.
It's mostly
Garter
black
shape?
and then stripes.
Hennessy. Went through that once, it's,
I wasn't that close.
the drought kind of hit some parts of it pretty hard. The oak tree, there's a certain part of oak trees that are mostly dying. It's also got a lot of invasives in it, and, you know, I'll advocate for the town to come up with a plan to deal with invasives, but I don't know the solution. The knotweed in some places out of control. The garlic mustard is out of control in parts too. Otherwise, that's about it.
Isn't the town doing something down there for the water retention?
Henderson.
Not at least for like
Yeah, there's a plan.
3 years. So it's,
Initial sketches, basically, you know.
yeah, so hopefully like within the next year, we'll start engineering design for it. But yeah, there is a plan to basically create a giant detention basin there that could store the flood water that is currently floods Norwood Center and the hospital. In the
I guess that's the only thing they can do. Is that the right solution, is to build a big tank and
we could flood, who's downstream from West Canton.
bring the brook back out?
So Jerry Coffcroft is also the chair of the Stormwater Committee. And he did just let me know that at some point when it becomes like timeline appropriate, that he did want to take a field trip and invite the abutters, the Austins, and invite the members of the Trails Committee, among other people, just to like get the concept, understand the concept of what they want to accomplish there.
Is that in the
But-
swale area where it dips down?
Yes.
Include that.
Yeah, it'll include that.
The problem is really down to Dean Street.
But it starts,
I mean, it
This-
backs up at Dean Street. Dean Street starts filling up on Route 1, and but when it starts doing that, then you get the area at the base of Murphy Field or Pleasant Street Field. Add to it 4 inches in an hour, and you have a situation where even my backyard and stuff were starting to fill up. And then the Norwood Hospital had,
Right.
you know, their problem.
I'm sure they would make bring in an
But, yeah, I
empty,
mean,
bring in an extra chair on the committee if you wanted to contribute to that community effort.
I don't know if I want to be on the committee because I don't think it can add it to it.
Yeah, but you're in a butter and they definitely want to get the abutters involved.
There's a great broadcast on our cable that Polly and Sarah did that I saw with the consultant and the engineer. It was really, really good. Hour and a half or 2 hours of my time watching it on our cable TV. And I'm not, not making it up. I felt like I learned a lot and it convinced me that this
Is
is
that about
very
$40 million?
viable
I
project.
saw?
Yeah.
I thought it was just for Hennessy.
Which committee was this? That was,
The ad hoc stormwater utility committee. So what they're studying is essentially the idea of charging residents and businesses in town a rate based on how much impervious surface they have on their property that contributes into the storm drains. And then that money would be used to maintain the storm drain infrastructure in town and improve it.
thank you.
And one of the big takeaways was the infrastructure for the drainage in the town was built in the 1890s. Of course, it's undersized now, There wasn't that much roof and pavement and impervious soil and it's gotta go somewhere.
They filled in all available fens and wetlands around town too.
Sure.
Vic?
As I
Thanks,
say
Jim.
every month, any update on the FAA?
And as I,
now
s-
that Holly's here,
and
maybe
as
she
I
has
s-
some insight.
and as I say every month, it's still on the table and it's still in the progress. But anybody that picks up the newspaper or watches NCM about their meetings, the Gilfoyle Commission, they're beleaguered with other stuff,
They have a
I'd
few
say
other
they're
things.
distracted.
lawsuits and neighbors and noise and flyovers and all kinds of stuff. So we're on their radar screen.
Countries away.
Somebody
Two
mentioned
tenants suing each other.
Yeah, but I think they're both
It's
suing.
been a
it.
problem down there for a while.
But thank you for asking.
I'm not holding my breath anymore.
But you got to keep asking that question.
Yeah.
I don't have to invite you because I know you will, but I mean, those are the kind of things that if we lose that arm of the necklace, we're like, it wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
So we just need to keep advocating. So good, but thank you.
You're welcome.
One of those ones is the one we were just talking about down. by- It's one to 10.
Joe B, you good? Sorry.
Okay, so I mentioned the status on the bridges. That was my big thing. I'm gonna try to, as we're winding down on that in a couple of weeks from now, I'm gonna try to get going on some maintenance and some of the weekday crew. And the weekday crew, I lost half of them almost when school season started because some of them are bus drivers, but now that it's summer or past July, I'm hoping to get some people out there to help with some maintenance and along with the intern from Holly's intern. And then I mentioned we need it's time to buy another weed whacker just because who knows when the other one's gonna die. And then the only other thing was it'd be good to get a weekend team maintenance because I can only do it during the weekdays and almost nobody else can do it except on the weekends, but I can't usually do it on the weekends. So if you could get somebody to kind of just schedule and go out there, because every one of these meetings, all the new players said, hey, I want to come out, I want to do some trails. And it's like, you can come with me on the weekdays, but if we had somebody to kind of lead the charge on the weekends, that would be good. So,
Thanks.
And you said you have a couple more bridges, so talk to me afterwards about them. I might give you one or two helps. So,
Holly, since you're an ad hoc, member,
My member minute is a shout out to member Chris Paddock for being the milkweed fairy with the children at the costume hike last fall because all of those milkweeds
Oh, really?
have bloomed around the Haas Pool ponds, and I saw a monarch on the milkweeds today.
Good.
I will say there was a lot of milkweed along Haas Brook that got weed whacked recently by
That's okay.
I mean, right, new growth.
Growth is
We
good.
like the new growth. Yeah, so I've been seeing lots of milkweed at Undine, and I've been thinking of Chris and the children.
Is there,
Yeah.
is there any, I haven't been down there yet, you know, where it goes under the railroad, where that rock goes under, down near the.
Yeah.
Is there milkweed back there at all?
I'm not sure.
That's where my son sprinkled on his.
cool.
He was
Good.
letting it go out there. So,
Oh no.
There's gonna be
Good.
a hanging bridge from there.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
And there's lots of dragonflies.
Oh,
Very cool.
dragonflies are
There's
big.
lots of fun.
Yes.
Thanks, Holly. Three quick ones. Thanks, Holly, for joining us, but Holly's involved in a ton of things that run the gamut, and Sarah as well, from planning to zoning to everything else. But the fact that there's so much interest in open space, and like we are who we are because of Sarah, Holly, and Tony. Right. You know, we've been given a lot of leeway to do a lot of things, mostly legal, right? But
Well,
no,
all
Sarah,
of the-
they're all legal, sorry. But like we've been given a lot of leeway, and we're just running with it. And that's, you know, because of the way we're managed and the ownership, I guess, that we all share in that sort of thing.
we get great support. from them.
Thank you.
We do,
I-
everybody in town.
Nice to have
I think
support.
that Sarah and I feel very lucky to have a group of volunteers who are so dedicated to putting in time to make things happen. So,
Okay.
yeah, sometimes I have to throw up red tape at you guys and stop you from making things happen, but mostly I think it's awesome.
It's nice to have a green light most of the time.
The only other thing I have, I went to, two things. I went to Shattuck Park to look at the spot where the two benches will go. And Shattuck Park is just so cool. It's, it's a great place for, it's in everybody's backyard. Parking is really challenging, but it's such a perfect little nugget. And it's like a posted, runners, you'd get bored after like 12 seconds, but it's zigzag around and, it's just great. It's a great place to bring the family. And, I'm just glad we have it. Ellis Field, I did get a call last 2 weeks ago. There was it was actually Beth Young from our committee. She lives in that neighborhood. She walked the park, but she walked in, if you remember in Ellis Park, the Ellis Playground, you come in off Codman, you come into the parking lot, and you can either go left in through that little like overhang out to the oval field, or you can go straight through the softball field, like dead left field is where the trail starts. But if you took that sharp left, there's probably a 2 foot in diameter tree, DBH 2 feet, that had perfectly fallen and was blocking the trail. And when it came down, it took out 2 trees on one side. It perfectly split 2 trees on one side and then took out 2 other trees on the other side of the trail. I wasn't able to get there tonight, but she told me, I took a walk, took a bunch of pictures, sent them over to the DPW and Chris Casavant and the dispatch desk. And he said that they would get there as soon as they could possibly get there. But what I think, just by looking at it, I would say it's probably bigger than what the DPW could handle, because to me, it might have involved a crane, and they don't have a crane.
They do now.
They do. Okay.
Really?
Okay, great. So but that's the kind of, it's the cycle. Somebody calls, neighbor, a butter, Beth in this case, but somebody calls, lets us know about something, whether it's invasives or good. It doesn't always have to be bad news, but it could be whatever news. And then like, they don't know what to do with it. Like they know something's wrong, but they just don't know what to do with it. So before us, that tree would have stayed there for years. Right.
Yeah.
So, yep. But that was at Ellis Field, and it basically cuts the loop trail. Like even I had to do the limbo to get below it, and that wasn't pretty, and I didn't take any pictures of that. But it was a like perfectly bad place to happen. So, but thanks, Beth, and thank you to everybody that gets in touch with us about goings on in the town. So, but good. Thank you all. Anything? He left. He had to go at 7:30. Any other thoughts, or we'll come back? So we're gonna possibly try to get to Mount Norwood Thursday. What'd you say, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.?
Yeah, maybe not that
Maybe,
long.
yeah,
Was
maybe.
my suggestion. But
Okay. But try to find someplace to go this month, right? Whether it's a full moon walk or something else towards the end of the month.
On Thursday, where is it gonna be?
We've
No,
moved
no.
out.
Polly?
Why don't we,
Oh, no.
why don't we tentatively say we'll park at the Willett School? And we could put up a couple of signs in dashboards and get in touch with the police department to tell them why we're there.
Okay.
It's a town-sponsored walk, but it's not a publicly communicated walk, but we're on a research trip. So we'll park at the Willett. Try to get there if anybody can get there at 10-ish,
She's 10.
10 o'clock.
I didn't know.
Well, I think they're supposed to start at 10.
Start at 10, so we'll see them on it.
It probably
If
be
the
present,
chance
it's
to
just
see
that
them,
it's
I feel
dark.
like we'll definitely
Right.
be there.
Starting at
Yes,
It's like the owls, you don't know.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you are, but there-
Yeah.
Most of the dealerships on Route 1 have dimmed their lights. But have to.
Any,
They don't dim the lights at all.
it's a headed, yeah, they don't, they really don't.
They want it daylight all the time.
24/7.
Yes,
So another walk, at some point in time, you should repeat, the Pine Tree Forest.
I think the Pine Tree Forest is a good spot for the full moon. That's always been.
And when you walk on that, if it's not flooded, it'd be good to, the only problem with the last time was it rained so much, and a lot of the people came were like regulars, right? And friends and family, but if we got a big draw from Noah Garden, then we'd have a lot of people walking on that trail, which would help with the maintenance that we talked about. And that was my one disappointment about that day is, and if we do one public, if we do have one down there, I think it's worth postering. If we publicize it a little more in our garden, so, because those are the people gonna benefit most from, those and the workers on, Indigo Ave and Florida Drive and some of the businesses.
But it has to be clean and marked, done.
Yeah.
Before we invite them.
Yeah, you know, it can be weather permitting, you know, if the water's low enough, you can cross everywhere,
Yeah,
today.
Yeah.
But if the river's high enough, you can't get
yeah,
across.
should we wait till the bridges come on?
No.
Nah, because then we'll be, it might be a long, long time.
Yep. Okay,
So.
so let's tentatively say at the end of the month, we're gonna do a full moon-ish walk at the Pine Tree Forest. And we'll take all the steps. to
Well,
get-
or I'm thinking, let the full moon one be somewhere else. Or it can be there, but we should do a day on that, because I think Damon's gonna get the
Because
business.
it's pretty shaded even if people's.
Yeah, it'd be tough at night.
I'm thinking the power line. I'm thinking of the,
Across the power line.
like, that'd be a good L hunting spot on the power lines there, open with meadows in between. That's always been my thought about that.
Okay, so to be determined then.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Optional Thursday night, 10 o'clock, Willard School. George Willow Parkway. Up for an adventure.
At 10 o'clock, I'm out like a light.
Mount Norwood, okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, as always, thank you very much, audience, thanks for, sticking with us. It's now, if you're still there, hello. We can be reached at trails@norwoodma.gov. That's our email address. We're all over town, so, feel free to stop us. We're at the farmer's market, 2 o'clock to 6 p.m. every Tuesday afternoon, and we will be at Norwood Day. Thanks for your support and thanks for coming. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Marguerite, Chris, thank you. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? We did have a second. Yep, okay, good. Thank
Technically. it
you
doesn't
all.
require a second.
Appreciate it.